however you want to do it. What would you say is the first thing to address in your site, regardless of what position that you're in, whether you're first building a site, you know that you have problems, you're basically trying to start with some point to be able to fix all your issues, or start your website, start building the website. Where would you begin? Anybody? Bonnie.
Okay.
There you go.
Being a designer, I would do a design, in InDesign, save a PDF file, send it to the web developer, and ask him or her, or what, how would he do this? How would he go about it? I want to do SEO. What can he recommend? Stuff like that. That's how I would start.
Okay. Anybody else want to venture a guess? Charles. Go ahead, come on down.
I would say the first thing you need to do is determine if you actually need a website or if you just need a landing page, a simple landing page, or a funnel for your business, because they are very different things and serve completely different purposes. So
I don't disagree with that, but let's go a little bit further than you have nothing. Let's say that you've already decided that you have a website and you know that there are issues, or you're still just starting on the website. And that it goes back to Bonnie said a little bit of the fact that you're looking at, she would think your design is first. And I 100% disagree, but I'm willing to listen to anybody else who has a different opinion. Anybody? Charles?
Well, can you describe your view in more detail?
Yep. I will. I'm waiting to see if anybody gets close.
So if I already had a website or funnel that, maybe I'm not sure if I'm getting the best results or not. My first step would probably be to look at data. Data never lies. My personal opinion lies to me all the time, but data never does. What I think is great may not actually be great. I'm not selling myself. I'm selling someone else, my ideal customer avatar. So one of the first things I generally do when launching a website is I make sure that I have my analytics set up properly, and then I also use a tool, Microsoft Clarity, because I like going back and watching how people are actually interacting with the website, because that in itself can tell you a lot. But for me, it's function over. I have this argument with a friend of mine that is a graphic designer all the time, because she gets way off in the rabbit hole with graphic design. I'm like, that's great, but if they can't function it doesn't matter how pretty it is. So, and then you get into a whole bunch of other SEO characteristics like loading time and stuff. So
you actually nailed it, because I was waiting and I'm going, it doesn't sound like anybody's going to hit it, but as a last thought, you came right to it. That's exactly it. Functionality. If whatever you're doing, whatever situation that you have, whether it's your first building a site, or you have a site that's already up and you've got issues, so where do you start? Functionality. And I know that this is a place that this is a topic, a specific topic that people have the worst time with, because so many people are going, why would I worry about functionality? I can see the look. I want to make it pretty. That doesn't mean a darn thing. And I've had client after client argue saying, well, we want to do this and we want to have it look like that. And I go, I don't even want to hear what you want it to look like. Functionality is 100% first. Charles, go ahead.
So I'll I'll add to that. So I spent 25 years in automotive, and I think automotive is a great example of this. If you go to an auto dealer, they can tell you every whip stitch of their website where everything is, and they oftentimes are confused as to why people are converting or not converting the way that they are. But it's because there's so much stuff on an automotive website that to them it makes sense because they put it all there.
Mm-hmm.
To them it does.
Right.
But then, like when I would do when digital retailing, where you could buy a car online first started launching, I did research in the service lane. And basically what I did is I took the older demographic that was in our service lane getting their vehicle serviced. I said, would you mind sitting here at this computer and just act as if you were going to purchase a car online? And oh my gosh, was it eye-opening. Because we were comparing different platforms. One was more intuitive than the other, but it all came back to that functionality. And that's why I say it doesn't matter what I think of it. Personal opinions don't matter, because the auto dealer is a perfect example of that. All those pop-ups and widgets and this tool and that tool that are scattered all over that vehicle website makes perfect sense to them.
Yes.
They think you're crazy for not being able to use it. But
yes,
they put it there.
And that comes with the developer. You will find a lot of places where, at least I do, and I bet Arthur does too. You go to a website and you go, well, it looks like the developers are pretty happy with themselves because it does what they want it to, the way that they want it to, but nobody else can figure it out. They had it makes sense to them because they go, well, we need this to work this way and that to work that way. But there was never, how do the users interact with that? It was, no, we just made it. Well, if you can't figure that out, it's so simple, then never mind. Like I said, I start from the opposite. Even my most recent client that I started with, who's got a site about keys, so it's kind of in that automotive industry. And they were amazed that I kicked and screamed and said, I have no desire to hear about the look of the site. We're going to build functionality first. And they'd never heard anybody push that hard. And he and all of his investors said, yep, we're married to this guy, because that's exactly the way that you need to do it. Your site, not just what we build or what somebody else builds, your site needs to function first. That said, when it comes to your site, why is functionality first? Bonnie, you look like you're thinking hard.
Well, I have tried doing that, but like I'd like to know in more detail what you're going to do, with functionality first.
Okay.
Exactly.
Functionality, which you can put that under the performance heading, if you will. But your functionality is everything not only needs to work, but it needs to work as easily and as obviously on mobile devices as it does for desktop. So whatever you've done, especially if you got an e-commerce site, which is kind of where I was talking about, e-commerce site has so much stuff that's in play. It all has to function properly. It needs to be easy for the user. So they just go, oh, I know I need to do that. You don't have to have instructions all over the place. No pop-ups, no stuff getting in the way, but it has to work. And part of that functionality is the page fast enough to allow a mobile device in? So before you put in all kinds of bells and whistles, check to see if that functionality is there. Can a mobile device use that page? Or have you got a 50% mobile page speed already and you haven't even got the design done? So you need to back up and make sure that you're well over 90 before you start adding pictures and doing everything else. And then you slowly add things, trying to make sure that you maintain that good performance. And anything that, okay, they need to click here to do blah, blah, whether it's buying something or whatever, that stuff all needs to function perfectly on all devices. So there's a tremendous amount of work and thought that's going in before the design. And then, of course, as you're building the design, you've got to take it slow, say, okay, we're doing this and that. Now let's go check the functionality again, making sure that your functionality remains tight. So it's functionality, then your design, then your SEO, which is your content. Because if you can't get the people into the site, they can't read anything. And you may have a lot of changes before you get to the point where you're saying, okay, now I want to work on the SEO. Well, what if you have to do a whole bunch of stuff differently? Then you got to go back and redo the SEO. And if the design itself, if you added just a little bit of something and that really dropped your performance level, then you have to think, okay, well, what happened here? It really slowed down the page and or pages. So we've got to go back and figure out a different way to have this look, or we've got to change the look. Does that make sense, Bonnie?
You still have to do the look.
The look is the design. Yeah, that's how everything looks, and
Still
that's
have
all
to
your
do
bells
it.
and whistles. But the functionality has to be first. Then as you're doing the design, making sure that that design is not interfering with the performance. So if it is, you keep monitoring your page speed throughout your entire process. And if it starts dropping like a rock, you got to stop and go, whoa, we're doing something that's causing this page speed to be horrible. And of course, page speed is directly related to your mobile device. And a lot of developers, because I don't know anybody that's doing it just on a phone, but because I'm just going to say that they're using a computer as a desktop and not a mobile device, sometimes they forget and they'll go way beyond where they should before they realize, I should go check the functionality. Well, now you're kind of in a rock and a hard place, especially if you're developing for somebody and you're allowing the owners to watch the development. You're doing it on either their own site or on a development site, whatever it is. So if they see it and all of a sudden they see that you're tearing things apart, well, they're going to be upset. You need to make sure that you talk to them and say, functionality is first. And I'm looking at a couple things over here in the side, design with the purpose, let function lead the way. That's absolutely right. It's exactly what I'm trying to get across. Functionality has to be first. It has to be primary, no matter what you're doing to a site and no matter what condition the site is in. If it's a fully developed website and it's having problems, go back to the functionality. There isn't, you don't ever change those around. Functionality is always first. And Shahid was saying, think of how functional Craigslist is. Yeah, it looks terrible, but it functions on all devices. I mean, it's horrible, has been for what now, 40 years? Guys never changed the look of it, but it works. So that's a theory. I mean, in that particular one, that particular theory of it, if it works, don't fix it. Yeah, but Craigslist just looks like it was done back in the 60s before the internet was even designed. That's kind of where he was, the guy, whoever developed the thing, but I guess he's making bank, so who cares? So who doesn't understand that it's that functionality that you need to hit? Where are you with your own site? Those who are having problems, those are the people that I want to hear from. Anybody? Nobody. No hands? No. Wow. Okay. Bonnie, go ahead. Oops.
Okay. I ran into a problem and I contacted you a long time ago about this. I didn't know what SEO was or how you did it. I thought you go into the back end and program, you put in all the words, but it's copy. So I didn't allow for that when I did my website. So I I decided to attack it in a whole different way by writing new pages and inserting them into the website.
Okay, well, that's a way to do that. So your homepage is basically devoid of content. Is that what you
My
mean?
homepage has one or two one sentence to describe what I do, and maybe 2 or 3 sentences to describe some of the award-winning brand identities that I have listed below, I've shown below. So there's nothing on the homepage. It can't be too much copy. So that's why I'm not doing it with the homepage. And you told me not to do it on the homepage, that I should use a page somewhere else.
Well, to clarify that, your homepage usually has more than one subject on it. So even if your website is about roofing, on that homepage, you're talking about, well, we have tile roof, we have wood tiles, we have all these different kinds of tiles, and we also do this interior stuff while we're doing roofing. So you have all these different services and things that you're doing that are listed on the homepage. And that's what throws your SEO off, because it's not about one subject. And that's where in like in your case, in a lot of them, people want to have many things on their homepage, and you're saying that you didn't have enough space. That's okay. It doesn't have to be the homepage that you're concentrating on. It can be any page anywhere in your site. That page can reach a page 1, position 1, if you do your SEO and everything correctly. So it doesn't make a darn bit of difference what page you select, or you can work on all of them. But you concentrate on the ones that this particular subject on this particular page, I know people are looking for this. So, okay, that's a good place to start. Just make sure your functionality is done first. Any other issues with functionality? I know a lot of people already have sites. So those are also some people that I'm expecting some questions to say, yeah, but how does that work into what issue that I've got? So what are some of the issues that you're dealing with? And we can help you out. Quiet group today. No hands? No comments? We have some new people. Feel free to jump in, anybody. Hit the reaction or raise hand, or you can raise your hand if you got your camera on. I see that 90% of the people here today don't have the cameras on, so that's okay. Hit the raise hand if you want. Dogs and tags. Oops, dogs and tags just went away. How do you improve SEO then? Yeah, I don't see your hand raised either, Eva. You should be down in the button that shows reactions. Just click on your raise hand. But at any rate, you're considering to have a free site? No, I don't recommend that. And I'll tell you why. It has to do a lot with everything that we're talking about, because it has to do with functionality, it has to do with design, and it has to do with your SEO. Oh, there's your hand up now, Eva. You want to come online?
I guess so. Can you hear me?
Sure, yes.
So I have a site that's pretty functional, but everybody talks about SEO and I hear different opinions about whether it's even that important. I think it is, but I don't know. How do you improve it if you've already got a good site? How do you make it even better?
What do you consider good? What's good in your terms?
It gets me as many customers as I can handle, but I would like some more now.
Well, I would say that pretty well satisfies what's a good site. So it doesn't make a darn bit of difference how much traffic you're getting. You've got a lot of people that are coming in enough that your plate is full. That's what everybody wants. So you can make your SEO better, but you want to look at the pages that you have. And this goes back to performance, part of performance and SEO specifically. When you're thinking about, okay, what should I change? How should I change it? And on what page? You need to look at those analytics first.
Okay.
And even before that, drop back, Eva, and say, what about the functionality? How fast are the pages of your site, Eva?
I know I should know this, but that is one of the things I'm working on just right now, just because we're starting to get a lot more content and I think it's slowing it down.
And not very many people know about checking on the speed. Where do you go to find out your page speed?
I think I'm doing it on, I can't even remember now where I went. So now that definitely shows how often I've been checking it. Maybe Google.
I'm going to add Google. Well, Google has a site that you can do that, but Google itself within the searches doesn't have them. What I just added to the chat, if everybody wants to look over there, especially the new people, I've got a bunch of tools in there. And part of the tools lists a couple of different ways that you can test for your page speed. And either the Page Speed Insights or using Chrome, you can use Lighthouse. And I'm going to see if I can bring up Chrome, and I'm going to go to a site. I'll have you guys, I'll share my screen so you can watch me do this. And Chrome decided it doesn't want to do anything. Chrome. Okay. Says, nope, I don't want to work. Wow, it took forever. Apparently there's an update in Chrome. Okay. So I'm going to use this one because it's got a lot of images, so people can't really say, well, it doesn't seem like it. This is a pretty typical site. So if you're going to check your page speed, the easiest way, Eva, do you have Chrome? Oops. Eva, do you have Chrome? Okay, then. She must have gone. All right, so if anybody is having that issue about what's the best way to check your page speed, pull up in Chrome. Then as you saw, I got Chrome over here. And then I've opened the incognito. Everybody know how to do that? I'll start that again. In Chrome, go up to the top right, hit the three buttons, say new incognito window. Once you do that, you've got this window that comes up and you can go wherever you want. And the reason that you want to do incognito is because it takes out a lot of stuff that interferes with your page speed through your own browser. So it's kind of a stripped down version, and that's what you're looking for. It gives you a better test on the page speed than doing it any other way. And we hit Lighthouse, make sure it says mobile. We never care about desktop. And all these categories, that just click all of them. Then you hit Analyze Page Load. And that's going to tell us, is this page fast or slow? So for those who are new, I know a lot of people have come around a lot of times and they've seen us do this, but still, it's nice to see it.
We can't see your pop-ups because you're only sharing the browser. So we can't see anything that's popping up on top. Just an FYI.
You don't see Chrome. You don't see incognito.
We see Garrison body.
Hey, how about
Oh,
that?
there we go. Yep.
Incognito. So as you're going through, as you open up incognito and you've got whatever site available, I'll start over here. This is incognito, right click, hit inspect, then click on Lighthouse. Make sure mobile is selected. All these categories are selected. Analyze page load. And that will show you the speed of your page. Google has said, if you're not at a 90 or higher, you're not going to serve your pages to mobile devices. So you can see this particular page, and this is a home page, not an inside page. It's got a lot of images and a lot of text on it. So it would be a pretty typical page. Maybe you won't get 98. You can hit 90, call it good. 89, you're starting to get into that point where even Google is going, well, you need to do some work on it. You might get into the mobile search results, but you don't know. Push it up over 90, and then you know that you have the capability of being able to get into the search results for mobile devices if your SEO is done properly. But what we're talking about here in the performance, that's part of functionality. Does the page perform? Does it function properly? Is it fast? Fast enough for mobile devices? For those of you who are new, you haven't heard us push this, but you have up to 3 seconds for those on a mobile device to be interactive with the page, or they leave. Now I slowed down because that's exactly what the test results, what the criteria, the search that Google has done, and found that you got 70%, maybe even more people are responsible for the search results in mobile devices. So desktop is pretty far behind. If you're not making sure that your site, your pages can allow a mobile device in and load in under 3 seconds, then you're losing 70% of your prospective business. So hit the 90s. You can change, you can test the page speed there. You can also do the page speed test. I believe that's in there in pagespeed.web.dev, and I'll share that screen back over here. This is PageSpeed Insights, and you just drop in whatever domain that you want in there. I can put this one in there. And hit enter, and it'll analyze. Oh, I forget that PageSpeed Insights doesn't like any of the www. They just want that part. And like I said before, we only care about mobile. You can check your desktop, but it's not going to tell you a darn thing. It just says, yeah, it's fast. And there's PageSpeed Insights telling the same thing. And as you scroll down, you can see all the information, things that are blocking, if there is something that's blocking the site. So if there's something wrong, read the information that's there, but the overall is you're just trying to get the numbers up. Usually when you find that your performance is down, when you scroll down here to the diagnostics, it's generally images. You could have a large image or a whole bunch of large images. And there's also times when it's the could be JavaScript or several other scripts that are running. And a cache plugin will usually help in that instance, so it takes them out of the process. Check this. I see that a lot of information, and Arthur's checking in with everybody there. So this, oh, Eva's back. Go ahead, Eva.
Sorry, we had something exciting happen. So
More exciting than us, I can guarantee you.
so do you have any suggestions? I have the feeling, without even looking, that part of my issue is that my graphics are too large. I don't use, Adobe products because I'm just just cobbling this together on my own. Do you have a suggestion about a way to minimize the files easily?
Yes. Did you see in the chat that I sent across a text file to everybody?
I didn't see any, oh, I didn't see any pages, any files in there.
Let me go back and look. Oh, that's because I sent it to Arthur.
If you look in the chat under Thomas's name, you'll see a file that says SEO tools.
I sent it only to you, apparently. So I'm resending it. There, now everybody should have it.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Okay, so PageSpeed Insights is in there, and using Lighthouse is in there. Also some information about the tests that Google did and where they are and what their opinion is of what kind of performance you need. So Eva, yours is back to, I wouldn't go to be changing anything on the SEO right now. Make sure that your functionality is there. Make sure that the pages are fast enough to allow mobile devices in. You might find that instead of changing your SEO, doing what I'm suggesting as far as the functionality, maybe just the trick that you need. I haven't seen your site and I don't know what your analytics show, but you know, that's the best place to start anyway. Arthur, you had something to say?
Yeah, I mean, if you're already getting traffic and if you're getting good traffic and stuff like that, I wouldn't be concerned with messing with the SEO because you could hurt your traffic. You know, it could be, it's not the SEO, it could be your messaging that's on your site. You know, and you know, I mean, personally, I don't, you know, I mean, if you're getting good traffic, you really have to determine what the quality of that traffic is. I mean, and you check that by looking at your analytics. You know, if you're getting a bounce rate, you know, what's converting and what isn't.
Okay. That's good information. I'm just out of curiosity going to do all this.
I mean, I would like to take a look at your site before you do anything. And when people start talking about changing your
Yes.
SEO,
Yes.
you know, that's, and if you got a high traffic website, you're risking some things. I mean, it may not be the SEO that you need to fix.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So make sure that you do some testing before you touch anything, Eva. That's what we're really getting to. Bonnie, you had your hand up also.
Yes. I just wanted you to go over again how you get to testing it, because I got as far as right click, inspect.
Okay, are you in incognito?
Yes, I'm talking about, I'm not doing it, I'm writing
Oh.
it down.
And when you go to inspect, you'll see a bar that comes up, and about the center of the bar, it says Lighthouse.
Okay,
And I'll show you this again. Go over to here.
and what?
You'll see this screen. See where it says Lighthouse right
Oh,
here in this bar?
Yes,
Click on Lighthouse, and then you'll see that it comes up with some information. Go inspect, Lighthouse, make sure it is marked mobile, don't care about desktop, select all the categories,
wait
and
a second,
click on Analyze Page Load.
mobile. And then categories.
Got it?
Yeah,
Okay. Eva, is your hand still up or is it up again?
are you talking to me?
Eva?
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. No problem. I just wanted to make sure that I knew whether you were needing something or not. And Charles said something in chat I wanted to get to. Charles says he's been told to use 72 pixel images. I would bet that what somebody was telling you is 72 DPI, dots per inch. That's the quality of the image. And a 72 DPI is the highest a browser can display. Did I slow down enough on that to tell everybody that? Browsers can't reproduce a 300 DPI image. If you put a 300 DPI image in a website and you put a 72 DPI image in the website right next to the 300 DPI, you can't tell the difference because the browser is showing you the 300 DPI as 72 DPI. That's why they don't look different. The internet hasn't figured out how to display those kind of images. The thing with that is, if you've got an image that even could do that, then you'd have people who are putting up these 300 DPI images and their site is already slow. It could be down to a 40 or a 50 in the mobile page speed. You put that 300 DPI, it's going to drop down to maybe 20. Just from that one image. 300 DPI is a lot of information for that browser to read. And that's the issue and what causes the slowdown. Browser has to read. I read something the other day and I showed it to Arthur. We were both scratching our head going, that's a lot of work. If you read an article about how a browser hits a page and all the work that's done for you to see what you see as fast as you see, you would say that is incredible that a browser can do it that fast. Because there's a ton of work that goes on before it even gets to anything that you can see on the page. So if you start loading images into it, that makes a lot more work for the browser. It just slows it down. And when you think about a mobile device, they're small, which means they don't have the room to cool off the processor in the mobile device. If they don't have the room to cool it off, you're limited as to how fast that processor can run. Generally, you're looking at high 200-degree Fahrenheit for a processor. Now, if it's a smaller processor, it's going to run a little bit cooler than that. And that's the biggest issue with a mobile device. They can't put these great big blocks that help cool down the processor into a mobile device. So they're limited as to how they can cool it down, which means you're limited to how fast that processor can be and how much RAM they can put in it. So it's not possible for a mobile device to be able to display any faster than they do right now. That is why Google has just gone way overboard and said mobile first, because people are using mobile devices. There's no point in trying to design your site for a desktop. If 70% plus are using mobile devices on the internet, then you can't be as concerned about your desktop as you should be with a mobile device. I hope everybody gets that. Any questions on that part that I just said? Because it's a mouthful, and yet people are still not designing their site for mobile devices. They still feel like, yeah, it's fast enough. I can get it fast on my phone. That's because you've been there. It's cached. When we do these page speed tests, that is as if nobody's, that particular test has never been to the site before. And they do that purposely. They make sure that it's the first time, no matter how many times that you test it. Each time you do it, it's designed so that it acts and provides the test information as if it was the first time that mobile device had ever been to that page. And that's what you want. Charles, you had a second part about WebP or SVG. SVG can be good, but there's a problem with SVG, and I want to make sure that everybody hears me say this. SVG can be a hacker's dream. They're not as secure as the other image formats. That doesn't mean that every SVG is a problem as far as security. It just means they can be. So if you're dealing with SVGs, you need to know if the way that you've created your SVG is secure. If you don't know, I know in Joomla, when I'm creating the text editor that I install, has a free plugin that the developer will say, oh, you need to have this if you're dealing with SVGs. So that secures your site, even if you're using SVG. I happen to use a huge SVG in my site that's got this image in it, which is the same as the background that you see behind me. And I mean gigantic image, and the page still loads at over 96. That's the beauty behind using an SVG if you use it correctly. So other than that, WebP, and then PNG, and then JPEG, if you absolutely have to. Kind of in that order, because the WebP is going to load faster, it's going to have less information in it, but still look like a good image. So you won't lose the quality of the image. PNG will have more information, so it's slower than the WebP usually. It depends on how small and what that image is. But so I'm going to stop myself there because images are, which is the best one? Arthur's going to laugh at this. WebP, PNG, JPG. That's the best format. Arthur wasn't paying attention because I knew I was going to get a smile if he was. If you're dealing with images, it's which one can you make the lightest? And when I mean light, you hold your mouse over it when you're looking at an image on your desktop and you go, okay, that one is 150 KB. Can you get it down to 10 KB or 7 KB? That's your goal. So try a JPEG. If you can get that JPEG down, great. If PNG or WebP, I make them on all three. The first one before I decide, okay, this size and this much information, whatever. I look at them and I compare them. So whichever one is the smallest kilobytes, that's the one I'm going to use. And that again is part of that performance. And even if you're having difficulty with images, you know you need to address them, you want to yank out as much information from that image as possible. And compression, which there are two different sites in that file that I sent across to everybody, so you'll be able to compress the images. You can optimize the images through all the tools that are in there, and you can test the page speed. Okay, send a link. And Paul was talking about sending a link, and we'll go directly to the website, their page, website review page, which I find it makes it easier and get it done. I think she's talking to Arthur because I have no idea about that conversation.
Yeah, I was preoccupied with that one.
Yeah, can you post a link to the submission? I'm not sure a link to what for submitting, but I guess you got that taken care of. I guess that's a little outside of our current discussion. Shahid's got a question about GA4. Are people now converting customers into that platform? You don't have to do anything. You use that code instead of any other code. Let's see where Shahid is. There he is. Shahid, can you come online for a minute?
Yes.
Hi there. New to the group.
So I'm using I'm setting up clients with Google Analytics 4. It is now the new analytics protocol, and they are no longer accepting old analytics anything.
Right.
The language has changed a lot, and I'm just wondering, out of this group, who is using GA4, who is setting up people with GA4, with events and schedules.
I haven't done it with events and schedules. Maybe that's what Arthur was talking about, but GA4 is the new code and the UA is going to, it's already on its way out. And Google is saying it's got a finite time. I think we're, what, 6 months away or something, Arthur?
July,
July.
Right now.
yeah, July 1st is the deadline. And what's going on is what the ones who haven't switched over from UA will automatically be switched over to G4.
But it seems like there's so much new stuff in it. It's so I'm having a little bit of a learning curve in learning all of the new language
Yes.
and making sure that everything works right. Maybe my question is, are other people as frustrated with GA4 as I am?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. You know,
We're
what?
all,
We had a meeting a couple of months ago and I had several developers and they were going, how do you get the code? Because everybody knew how to get the code when it was UA. And I went, well, I had just done it for Arthur the other day. So here, boom, boom, boom. It's a really short, easy process. But if you don't know it, you're chasing your tail around admin because you know it's in there somewhere, but they have increased and they've changed the terminology. So it's like,
yeah.
I honestly, when I first started using the G4, I just went, well, let's see. I know that this works this way, and I kind of just went in there blind, going, this is supposed to be it, and this is supposed to be here. Oh, what do you know? That did
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you really just gotta research it, you know, and just ball the jack and just learn it like everything else, you know, because, you know, what's interesting is how the conversions are set up now. You know, and that's one thing that, you know, just Google it, man. You know, but more, I mean, I'm going through it. We're all going through it, you know, and some people have been learning it for about a year now, you know, and there is a blog that I follow to where this lady has a course for switching from UA to GA4, you know, but in my opinion, she wants too much money for it, you know, but there's a lot of ways out there to learn it. And it's something you're gonna have to learn. I mean, it's just like anything else.
The way I set up my customers is I got a white label. I purchased a white label from an independent, and I use that to set up GA4 clients now. It suffices, but I just don't know about, I like to really be able to give good value. I want to really know the product that I'm, you know, working or using. So I know that I have a learning curve, and then I'm going to have to grow that learning curve so that I can represent it better.
Yeah, well, you don't necessarily have to use GA. I mean, you're going to have to use GA4, but you don't necessarily have to use Google Analytics to do your reports. And there's a lot of other opportunities out there. I mean, you can use SEMrush, you can use SERPstat, Ahrefs. I mean, there's several other tools you can go out there. I mean, if you're white labeling, then it's probably not Google that you're using in the first place, right?
No, I mean, I have so maybe I should say I have a white label SOP that shows me how to set up GA4. And that's what I do for all my clients and all my team members.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And,
No,
and then
it's-
without them really even knowing how to set it up, they have a set of steps that they can use and follow, and they can set it up for the client, but it doesn't give them the understanding that as geeks, we want to have an understanding. Oh, this is why this event happens. This scheduler works. So that hasn't clicked for me yet. And that's what I'm speaking. I just want to be able to speak on that with confidence and with value.
Yeah. Well,
I think with
You're
G4,
shaking your head.
I think with G4, you're right there along with everybody else. Unless there's somebody who has spent the last several days going through it, you know, with a fine-tooth comb to understand everything about G4. The only way that you're going to do it is, okay, I need to use this part today because of a client that I'm working with or whatever. So you're gonna learn that part. And it's like we learned how to use UA. It's just a matter of time. The more things that you use, the more times that you use those, then you get more adept with it. But I wouldn't be afraid of letting customers know there's new tracking information from Google. And it comes with some information. I know for me, I like a little bit of information and then I just dig my heels in and start screwing with the thing. And then go, oh, this does this and this does that. And for me, it helps it click better than reading and then trying to apply it, because I'm going to have to read and apply. Sometimes I like to just go, I'm going to just go in here and start messing with stuff and see, dive right in. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are times when you can do that and times when you cannot do that. But with analytics, I think you can do it a lot of times. Arthur, you had something?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Charles, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I had a question for Shahid, actually. Is it your implementers or is it your clients that are trying to wrap their heads around it? Oh, he can't unmute.
There you go.
There we go.
So it's one, I want to have a better understanding. I have been trying to learn it. Once again, I've learned some of the language behind it, but also for my team. If my
gotcha.
team has a client and that client asks them a question, and so the way we set up GA4, there's like a bunch of event handlers that come as a default.
Mhm.
So we basically set people up with those default parameters and maybe one event on top, but that's it. And
Yeah.
without really understanding how, once again, I use these words, events and schedulers it's hard for me to really communicate with a client.
Have you ever messed around with Google Data Studio?
Never heard of it.
Oh my gosh. That you need to look into Google's Data Studio, because you can take raw data that you're getting from Google Analytics and reinterpret it any way that you want. You can relabel things. So like to them, if it's like an appointment being scheduled, if you say this is an event, we got you this many events actions. Well, that means nothing to an end consumer, but you can say, I want that data point to actually say appointment scheduled. And you can put that on the report, and to the end consumer, it makes sense. It's all things that matter to them. They don't care how you get there, because we deal with the same thing with our CRM and reporting. You have to, they only care about the end result. They don't care about the journey necessarily that was taken to get there, how all that data point came together. But Google Data Studio is free. There's a ton of templates out there. Make sure they're highly voted on before you just start throwing templates into your Google Data Studio. But you can connect hundreds of platforms together to create a really nice report, and it just sits there. It constantly gathers data from its sources, so you can run a monthly report in a PDF or web form, and send it to your clients, but it can be fully customized to them with your logo and everything.
Wow.
And it's free. So it takes a little bit of time to learn. I'm not going to say that it doesn't. But it is a, and then I put in the chat a Google's course library on GA4. They're all free courses from Google, so explaining GA4, and they have a certification in there as well. So
You just dropped the mic.
well, I know how it is. So
And Shahid, now we tell you that this meeting just cost you $100. So there you go. Well worth the time, wasn't it?
So I'm not worried about investing in myself. I think it's one of the things that makes Alignable really amazing is when you get a group of people together like this, and the information that people can share and glean from each other. It's just so powerful.
That's exactly why we started this almost 2 years ago. Do you realize that, Arthur?
Wow!
See what you've been missing for 2 years?
Yes.
Yeah.
As far as
Well,
your staff,
Thanksgiving, so we're 18 months, I think now, but 2 years in Thanksgiving.
Wow. Wow.
It's been a while.
It's like, it doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it has.
Yeah.
in regards to your staff, I would make them take at least the intro course to GA4 so they
Oh,
have
yeah.
some basis. I do it with my support team and onboarding team. They have to go through a certification process, and it takes them about 2 to 3 weeks to get through my training for my platform. But it's, you think of any job, you go through a training period of 2 to 4 weeks for even entry level. So I would definitely just at least the intro course. Maybe they don't have to go all through all the courses, but it'll give them kind of a better footing in what GA4 is and what it does, and they can leverage that basic knowledge to better explain. So
Amazing.
Sometimes even just listening to a recording or even reading some stuff and you go, well, it can do this. Oh, good. So I'll remember that. I don't want to get into it right now because I'm busy, but just the fact that this is it, the capabilities of G4. So if you see, yeah, okay, cool. I didn't have that before, so now I know I could do that. Haven't got any clue how yet, but it's available. Those kinds of things are important for all your staff to know.
Excellent. Excellent.
Any other questions? Look at that. We're right up to the minute, darn near. Bye, Shahid. You're taking off, and I'm sure a lot of people are. Thank you for joining us.
Yep.
We've learned a lot today. Glad that everybody had a good time. And if you missed anything, you can find it in YouTube at SEO-Tom. Of course, not today. I'm going to need a day or two to be able to get it up there. Anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody. Look at that. We ended right on time. You take it easy, and we'll see you next week.
take care.